Adequate notice of the meeting was provided to the Westfield Leader, advertised on January 4, 2018. Notification was sent to the Star Ledger, promptly posted on the Municipal Public Bulletin Board, and filed in the office of the Municipal Clerk, or in the public in time and place according to the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Law, Chapter 231, PL 1975. And welcome, everyone. It's great to see you here tonight. Tonight, first on the agenda is presentation to Mustang's Works of Heart Club members. First, I'd like to thank Council President Blumenstock for bringing forward this information about this great organization. The Mustang Works of Heart Club is comprised of the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students at Lincoln School and ran by club advisor Mrs. Carol Del Conte. The club meets once a week to work on arts and crafts projects that are to be shared with members of the community. For the Christmas holiday, the students made yarn ornaments and lighted up Rudolph the reindeer crafts that were distributed to the seniors in the Garwood Senior Club. They also created Valentine crafts and cards for the seniors, as well as Valentine paintings for the Lincoln School teachers. By creating these crafts, the students are learning just how rewarding it is to open up their hearts and put a smile on someone's face. We are all proud and honored to honor these students tonight. Del Conte.
We don't have all our members here, but most of them have come tonight.
And the certificate reads as follows. Office of the Mayor, Certificate of Award. They're all individualized for each of the students. The Mustang Works of Heart Club. Thank you for creating beautiful arts and crafts that were distributed to our senior club in Garwood. The seniors were so happy and grateful. The paintings for Lincoln School teachers were appreciated. This demonstrates your creativity and willingness to reach out to members of the community. Wishing you all well in your future endeavors. Thank you. Charles Lombardo, Mayor of Garwood.
Okay, first it is Tony Shaw. Okay, Lillian Ficara. Nyla Castro. Juliana Velage. Okay, Sammy Vandergraaf. Brian Van. Brianna Ludek. Kennedy Hartenstein. Allison Gilbride. Kenny Cruz. Noemi Torres. Isabella Lynn. Okay, Sophia Kukuro. Sophia Cruz. Selena Blumenstock. Vanya Aguirre. Delilah Gianfrio. Ivy Alave. Okay. Mitchell Godell. And Olivia Castro. Good job. Thank you very much for coming, and if you'd all like to come here and have a group picture with the mayor, you may. You can arrange Okay, everybody's got to get real close, and somebody might have to kneel down. Good job.
Yeah, very good.
You be in the front. You come over here so everybody can see you, Missy. Okay, there you go.
Let me get some eyes over here.
The major county here.
Thank you.
Okay, good job.
Can you grab my bag? We're not leaving.
Yeah, okay.
We're all leaving.
Take care of that.
Was it yesterday 26th? Yeah, but it's not.
It's February.
It's the 27th. Oh, I know, but I didn't even know.
Town meeting.
Thank you.
Okay, now you make it.
Now, we have people probably in the hallway. We can't miss Bruce. Oh, he's here. I kidded him about his sideburns.
Hey, how are you?
Good job.
Yes.
There you go. Are you able to climb over it?
Okay. All settled in now? Mr. Devon, do you have something for us this evening?
Sure, Mayor, thank you. Hartnett Park is back on the agenda. I just wanted to report on that. I did take a look after the meeting at the statute that Mr. Neerstedt cited. And actually, I think I'm sure I've had this conversation with him in the past, I sort of forgot about it. He regards, there's a statute 4055D31 as requiring that the planning board basically review any capital expenditures that the municipality have. I don't agree with that. He's entitled to his opinion, I have mine, I've expressed it before. The statute requires a referral where the expenditure affects the location, character, or extent of the project. I don't believe that this does that. Reading it more broadly would require that the planning board basically approve any capital expenditure in any existing facility, which I don't believe is the purpose of the statute. I think it's to require a planning board review. Like, for example, when we had the athletic field was constructed, that went to the planning board. Even when we put up the lighted sign out front, for example, we went to the planning board. When we did a gazebo, we went to the planning board. If it's something new, it goes to the planning board, I believe, particularly if it has to do with land use. But I don't, it's my opinion that this doesn't apply. I don't think that's, it certainly hasn't been practiced here. I don't think it's the practice in most municipalities. It may be someplace, but I don't believe there's any impediment to proceeding. Let's see. I've worked on a number of ordinances for the Laws and Licenses Committee. I think you're going to get a brief report about those later, and then next meeting we'll have a little bit more detail for you on what those proposed ordinance changes are. And then later tonight, after the public meeting, there won't be any action taken, but I did want to go over with the mayor and council some pending litigation with respect to tax appeals. So I'm proposing that we have an executive session to do that. It'll be entirely after the meeting, although you have to come back out and open and close the meeting. There won't be any action taken. It's basically just to update the governing body with respect to the status of the appeals.
Thank you.
That's about it. Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, members of council, do you have any questions of Mr. Bernard? Hearing none. Ms. Ariella?
No report, Mayor.
Okay, any unfinished business for the mayor and council? Any new business? I have a mayor's report this evening. I've reached out to the RDSA representative, Steve Reed, who has tentatively scheduled representation from RDSA to come to us on March 27th council meeting to explain our 2018 increase. Pre-registration has started for Norwood's annual town-wide yard sale. The sale will be held on Saturday, June 9th and Sunday, June 10th, between the hours of 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. No permits or fees are required, but participation must be registered to avoid payment of permits. Due to a major conflicting event in Garland on Saturday, March 17th, I'll be moving Mayor's Wellness Campaign 3K Walk with the mayor to the following Saturday, March 27th, to start at noon at Borough Hall. Mayor's Saturday will still be held on Saturday, March the 17th, beginning at 11 a.m. at Home Depot. That will be our next place of the Mayor's Saturday. First, I would like to thank the local resident for inquiring about placing up a manger on town property. The borough currently has two iconic and significant symbols displayed in December, which play a major part in celebrating our winter holiday season: a Christmas tree and a menorah. Nationally, these are the most frequently used symbols to celebrate Christmas and Hanukkah, and often they are considered secular holiday symbols more than religious symbols. The menorah is a symbol of hope, recounting the miracle of one day of oil lasting for 8 days, and the Christmas tree is evergreen, reminding us after the hardship of winter, spring will bring new life to us. Although many may argue that the menorah is prominently the Jewish faith and is not the same as displaying the Torah or the Star of David, which would be similar to displaying a Christmas manger scene, as they are deeply religious in nature. Our country's highest court has provided guidelines for public decorations observance that mark the holiday season, keeping the proper separation in state. The United States Supreme Court has filled a three-pronged test as to whether any government action, including the act of decorating for the holiday, violates the Establishment Clause of the Constitution. This act must be a secular purpose. It is permanently affected most not either advance or inhibit religion, or it must not result in excessive government entanglement with religion. As such, a manger scene, is one of the most powerful religious symbols of Christmas in the Christian world, and would appear to advance the promotion of Christianity as it celebrates one of its most important events in the Christian calendar. I believe if we install a manger scene, we would be overstepping our bounds of keeping the proper separation between church and state by promoting the Christian religion on borough property. Manger scene can be found at any one of the local churches during the Christmas season, and any other resident could feel free to visit them as they need. That's all. Thank you. Any comments and matters for discussion from members of council? Council President Blumenstock.
Thank you, Mayor. I was speaking to the Public Works Superintendent today, and he had responded to a resident email complaining about the rec center that the resident lives directly next to it, and there's apparently the balls keep hitting the house and going into the yard at different points, and so the resident inquired as to if there was anything that could be done. The superintendent did go down to investigate and did come to the conclusion, which seems logical, that there is just a need for some netting. And so I actually wanted to ask if I could refer this issue over to the Rec Commission. Councilman Lazaro, if you could talk with them about possibly getting some estimates for some netting over in that area.
Yep, we're hoping to have a meeting next Monday. It's still, the days are being pinned down, but it's definitely going to be early next week, I think.
That's
That's all, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Kukrow.
I don't have anything written, but I wanted to, I don't agree with your whole statement about the manger. What if somebody donated the manger to the town?
Well, as I said, I don't think it would be appropriate to put a manger on my property.
Well, I'll have to tell the 25 people that want to know what happened to the other ones. I don't believe in separation of church and state. I believe freedom of religion as opposed to freedom from religion. That's my firm belief in that.
Thank you. Anything else? Councilman Lazaro?
Thank you. Just a few items. So the Girl Scouts sent an email to propose a few ideas, which everyone on council has a picture of it. So they're proposing wanting to build birdhouses, a buddy bench, and a wishing well. So the wishing well looks like it's the one on the front, which basically, they take tires and they kind of turn it into this nice little decorative experience. And then the bunny bench is supposed to sort of serve as this, idea where someone who maybe needs a friend, that they can sit down next to that person, just create a little bit more friendly environment. And then the bird houses would not actually have bird food in them. It would just be a place for the birds, and they would be responsible for maintaining these items. So I just wanted to bring that up for discussion. Any concerns, thoughts? I did mention that we did share this amongst the Buildings and Grounds Committee earlier. We just thought as a committee that we would bring this up to the full council if there is general sentiment of support or if there is any kind of concerns that we should be aware of.
I have a few thoughts. The first one is this is fantastic. I mean, even to see the youth getting so involved in our community as what they were presented with the certificates by the mayor tonight, it's great stuff. I'll share the one little concern I have with bird feeders because of the rat issue that has taken place. I know that it educated me that bird feeders can lead to causing rats to be on the property. They eat the seeds that fall, so I'm not so sure if that might be the best project to do, but I
It's
love.
birdhouses though.
Birdhouse.
It's
Oh,
stipulated,
okay.
There's no feed in
yes.
there.
It's no
Okay.
feeding,
Then
yeah.
I'm all for it. Birdhouse is
Yeah.
great.
We did go
That was
over
something
it.
that I also thought of too, which, because I remember you had
Okay.
mentioned that, but yeah, it's definitely
Okay.
a birdhouse.
I'm
So
more
it's
heightened
a-
about bird feeders than I ever thought I would be. So, okay, birdhouses are awesome. And then the last comment I have, the buddy corner bench that I see in the picture here is wonderful. I know this is something that an educator over at Lincoln School a few years ago approached the Education Foundation for a grant, and we were able to award that, and to my knowledge, it's been very successful at Lincoln School. So then, for them to be able to apply that same principle to the park across the way, I think is, fantastic, so I'm all for it.
And if I could just add the tire flower pot wishing well and the buddy corner bench, as well as some of the birdhouses. They did ask for that to be in Hartman Park. I don't know if that was, so those would be, and the birdhouses, by the way, would be attached around the tree. So they wouldn't be sort of sticks into the ground or anything like that, but they put them on the tree. So, and as Councilman Lazar said, they did say that they will take charge of maintaining all of these items for us.
I have a question. Were they gonna be building this for themselves?
Yes.
It's a part of one of their bronze awards that they have to, their badges, that they have to do different projects for the community, and they decided on a couple of these that they had seen, and thought they would be nice additions to the park.
So they're making it, it's like an age-restricted park. This is all children's things, correct?
Well, it's flowers, it's a nice decorative thing. I don't know
I
if
mean,
that's
I mean,
just.
technically anyone can sit with a buddy bench.
Really, how can you use a bike bench?
I mean, obviously this is a picture of the buddy bench, so.
Well, I can't visualize how big it is.
I can't visualize it either, but I guess feasibly,
It's
it's
They're
probably.
regular sized
I
benches.
think there are regular sized benches, I don't think they're actually, so feasibly anyone could sit next to it, so I don't think it's age restricted for that. I think though, and obviously anyone can enjoy the wells and the birdhouses, of course, unless you're not a fan of that, so.
Okay.
I have a question to that.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry for my voice, but will that be maintained by the DPW or will the Girl Scouts maintain that through the course of its life?
Yeah, they, in the email that they said that they would maintain it, they'd be responsible for
And
it.
within the park, we have rooms set up that this would be a company to have its own room within the park that we're proposing, Norman Park, the new development.
I think that they would probably work around us, so we already have the plans, which I'll get to in the buildings and grounds reports, but they're gonna probably have to obviously work around what space is there. I think they're motivated, so.
Thank you.
Any other questions about that? Because I have a couple more items, sorry.
Okay, that's okay.
Okay, so, second item is about the batting cages that I brought up last time. So, there's a little bit of a clarification. So, the borough would need to actually own the batting cage, but the baseball league would donate the cost for purchase and implementation of the batting cage. So basically, last time, I think when we discussed this, they were going to be owning and responsible for it, but they don't have actually the insurance to be able to cover that. So basically, I talked to Tina about this, and basically, we would basically need to own it if we wanted to pursue it. Okay, there's no additional cost for that, us personally, to obviously own it. Obviously, it would be the man hours, I guess, to maintain it, our DPW workers, to make sure that they, put away the actual netting that goes over the batting cage. But I still am in favor of it. I think it still enhances the overall quality of the rec center and the amenities nearby, that it will attract more baseball leagues. So I just wanted to put that out there for everybody to see what their thoughts are with this new information.
So the residents will be paying for the insurance on this?
We already pay for insurance on the
On the
park,
batting cage, on the
so
park,
it's not increasing the insurance.
All right.
So it's just because it's our land, it's borough responsibility technically. So as a result, they don't have their own insurance to insure
Right.
just that space. So we
So our
have to,
insurance premium will not go up because of that?
as of right now, it's what I've been informed.
maybe we can get a quote by then, by the time you.
I already spoke to the insurance company.
It will not go up?
There will be increase in premium to bank. I already checked everything with the insurance company. That's why I know that we can't let them just put it in.
This was my original concern from when we were in the rain that day, so discussing this, so I don't have an issue with it. I'm glad it's clarified, I'm glad it went to our office. That was my original concern. What happens with the insurance, you answered it, I'm fine with it, let's go.
Okay.
The only thing that I would suggest that we check with, and I guess the borough administrator would have to do it, is just check with Green Acres and make sure that we don't need any approval from them, because they're fussy about when you have something that they financed and then you change it. I don't know that a batting cage is going to bother Green Acres. I think it would be prudent just to check.
Okay, if the council supports it, I'm for it. This is something that technically the borough could have paid for and put in, as I'm sure other parks do, and other towns do in their parks rather. But the Baseball League is donating this. I think that's great. I want to say a big thank you to them. And if it's okay by Green Acres, I'm all for just giving them the approval rather than waiting until the next council meeting.
Shouldn't we be maintaining it though? Shouldn't the rec department be maintaining it?
So, maintaining it basically means like the netting has to be put away
No,
at
you
the end
said
of
the
the season.
DPW was gonna be doing that.
I guess it could be, I'm not sure exactly who would fall under technically.
Tina?
But it's ours.
It's ours,
So
so
it's
it's our
whether it's-
responsibility, but I don't doubt that the people that want to use it during the season, because, it's a seasonal thing, won't work it out with everybody and say, okay, we're gonna use it today, we're gonna take, I can't speak for people, but the people who play in the league are very, responsive, so I think Clint can probably work the schedule out with them, letting Clint, Monday to Friday, leave it up, I don't know, whatever you guys do with batting things, I don't know.
I assume it would just be up for the season.
Yeah,
And
but-
at the beginning and the end, but
Yeah,
they
it's
don't
like
figure
that.
out taking
Well,
it
it's just a
down.
concern, because I know the soccer field wasn't maintained. I mean, it was a mess a lot of the time, so, I just don't wanna see it come down to that, where there's something put in there that's new, and then nobody ever takes care of it. I mean, you've seen the
Well,
soccer
I do
field.
think that there is motivation because they're actually laying out the money, that they're gonna want to obviously make sure that they work with us in maintaining that. So I think because they're putting skin in the game, I think we can definitely make sure that whether it be through the DPW or whether it be through the rec commission, we can certainly make sure that happens.
And also too, this topic has been around for over a year, so I think definitely they have a commitment to go forward with it, and they will supply, and I have the vote, I will support it 100%.
May I ask what the accessibility of this is? How would kids get into this batting cage? Would there have to be some type of supervision there all the time, or is this open 12 hours a day to children at their free will?
It's the same as technically the park, right? So, if a group of kids wanted to play on a baseball field in the rec complex, they can use that. We don't have a specific supervision policy for that too. So the same concept would happen with the batting cage. If someone wanted to practice batting in the batting cage, the benefit is that they don't have to grab the ball. They can really practice on their swing. That's the whole perk of the batting cage.
And in this batting cage, how is the ball being thrown towards the bat? How is that happening?
A pitcher would.
Yeah, how is that a machine there?
No, there's no machine.
So it's another child or so
Correct.
pitching the ball.
Yeah, there's
So-
no machine. It's not like a.
Just asking these
Yeah, no,
questions
I
as a
agree.
parent, so there will be a mandatory sign that the children will have to have a helmet on as they enter this batting cage, so on and so forth.
I think that's a law.
Okay,
That sign has to go on there.
okay, thank you.
Are they gonna bring in the pitcher guard too? You know what I'm talking about, right?
I do.
Yeah.
I can ask about
That's,
that.
because that's key, that goes right to Rich's point, you got a comebacker, game over. So, I think that's something important, as long as we get clarification on that, I don't think it's a big problem. And obviously, our signage is in order, that makes sense
I'm
too.
in favor of this whole thing, by the way.
Yeah, no, it's a fair concern.
No, I'm definitely, listen, if we can decrease our liability, I'm all in favor of that. so.
And any signage you probably can get through the county,
Okay.
okay? And it's just a matter of material costs, there's no labor costs involved. If we can properly design what we want to see.
And then just one line, it's kind of for you, the mayor, just for the public's benefit. A few thoughts on, appointments for the recreation committee.
I will be appointing someone tonight, and that would be our main topic with the, Jack Sullivan, whatever, the president or whatever he's called. I apologize.
Okay, thank you. That's it.
Thank you. Okay, Councilman Sarno?
I have a Councilman McCormick.
Yeah.
Well, he can't talk, so it's okay.
Yes, I can.
I apologize. Councilman McCormick.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to ask you, Mayor, to repeat what the menorah means in your reading.
The menorah is a symbol of hope, recounting the miracle of one day of oil lasting for 8 days.
And can I ask where you received that from?
If I may be so bold to say you can Google anything,
Okay, because
I'm being
if
sincere.
you look at Google, like we all do, we all use Google, it depends on what part of Google you are looking to when
Understandable.
the menorah, if you look at the menorah, one part of Google, the center light of the menorah represents God. So I was wondering why God's not there and just hope is there. So that's why I'm asking the question. I'm not here to start an argument or a debate.
Like I
But
said, I took it right
I'm
off.
just finding a little difference in the religious belief of menorah and a manger, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, sir?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Councilman Sarno?
The only thing I'd like to just bring up to the council's attention is I'd like to, in an effort to maybe reduce our costs in terms of insurance, what I'd like to do is have our council direct the borough administrator to obtain claims data or claims experience from the state health benefits plan. What that does, it gives us the opportunity to forward that to a potential competitor, okay? And then you have the opportunity to compare the two. And then at that point, we can make a choice if we want to change insurance, obviously to reduce costs and to keep in line with our labor agreements that are currently in place.
Are you talking about health insurance?
Yes, I am. This is something with a little research, and it would have to be in an unofficial letterhead, and that's something that could come from her work or office. Any concerns, questions?
I know a few insurance brokers in the past have approached me about the same thing, and it was a few years ago, so I spoke to Ms. Ariema about it, but Ms. Ariema, do you have any thoughts on this at this time? I mean, it's.
All I know is they took away the $2,000 fee, so, and the only other concern that I have is, I think we could, reduce the cost of healthcare while providing the same equal forbearance. That's amazing. I just get scared that the first year they would come in low, and then it would creep up, and you can't go back to the state health benefits once you leave. And you have to remember, we pay a percentage of premium, so not only would that impact taxpayers, but it would really hurt the employees if they came in really low the first year, got us out of the state health benefits, and then jacked the costs. That would put us in a really
I say
bad.
we get to that point, then we can have
Yeah,
that debate.
maybe if there was a way, like, we could somehow lock in, say, give you a rate and then lock in for
That's
so many
something we
years.
could
like
discuss at that point.
percentage increases or something.
I don't think they lock in for X amount of years
Yeah,
though.
it's kind of scary, it's a little bit scary
Well,
for
maybe if we
for
look
us.
at other,
but
if we look at other
I
towns
don't
and
think
see.
there's any harm in
Right,
finding
well,
out.
agree, so
Yeah.
I'm okay with investigating it, sure. In the meantime, too,
And
we can look up other towns and see their experiences, because I want to say it was Springfield. that
Scotch
did it.
Plains,
Scotch Plains?
yes, just,
Yeah.
yeah,
Did it recently?
and they definitely reduced their cost.
Okay.
So that's,
Do you know if it was Springfield too, by any chance, or no?
It could be. I think they may have done it a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
The most recent that was Scotch Plains in
Okay,
this area.
so might be good to see some that have been in it for some years now,
Right,
see
and
if
that-
it's skyrocketing.
And I think you're seeing more and more towns kind of branching out a little bit from the state health benefits plan. You'll talk to many people, it wasn't the same as it was 20 years ago, where it was the end-all be-all. Yeah, but being a small town, we have our challenges compared to a Scotch Plains and Springfield. But I still think it's worthwhile to go ahead and get to that point, and then we can have a fruitful debate at that point. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Yes, especially if we have the history, if we can go back X amount of years to check the other towns out and see what their increase in rates were. That will give us an idea of how they operate.
All that budget data. I think that's all I have.
Okay.
Can I make a comment on that?
Yeah.
Christina brought up a point that once we leave the state healthcare, it may be hard to get back in.
You can't get
and
back
it's-
in. You never can go back.
Okay, you may not get back in,
No, never.
never
Sure,
get
it's a
back
never,
in.
I thought it was a number of years they disqualified
I
you
don't
from.
think so. I've heard some people can never go back.
Yeah?
But with that said, if we can save monies for the borough, it's very interesting to look into something like this. And the reason why I bring this up is, every time we put something out for contract to get something done in the town, strike me if I'm wrong, but for some reason, we always pick the lowest bidder. So are we not, okay, we're obligated.
In certain instances.
So would it be not beneficial to look into this a little more without saying no? Nobody said no, but I'm just looking.
I believe that was the consensus. that
Yeah,
we
everybody's
go forward.
agreeable to do it, to investigate what's going on, especially the
Then it's
history of
always
the
a
other
stopping
towns.
point.
That's not what I'm doing though, everybody understand that, I'm getting claims history so that you could get a quote from this other guy.
Right.
I'm not doing any of this investigating what the towns that I don't contact.
What committee does that belong
I
on?
don't know, but I don't have time
This
for
is
that.
something I
It
derived
works
from
there.
myself, and, we can have a further discussion after we get the claims data. You have other brokers you want to bring that to? Can't be a bad idea, Sarah.
Okay.
When, just keep in mind that if you go to a broker, the broker is awarding a brokerage is what's called in the EUS, an extraordinary unspecifiable service, so you have to, you can't just go out and pick a broker, but we'll deal with that. I'm not trying to throw up roadblocks. Just keep in mind, you can't make commitments to brokers because it's an
I thought you couldn't
EUS.
market healthcare through a broker, I read that somewhere.
I'm sorry,
can.
when did you
Could
hear?
not
I didn't think you could
market
because of-
healthcare through a broker.
Meaning what?
I thought I read somewhere now, I need to go back and check a minute. Are you considered a broker or is it an insurance company?
Well, it's you can have a broker for health insurance, so if that's what the question,
you have-
that's what your question is.
Most of the people do the same thing that you can't market through a broker?
But most of the people
But my
are brokers.
concern is that if you go to let's do it one step at a time, get the claims information and market it.
Right.
The problem is, if you go to a broker and then the broker does the work, it's gonna be awkward because we can't necessarily use that broker because you have to go through a process for the EUS. That's the difficulty. The
For a quote, you
The
mean, Bob?
logistical problem, yes.
Well, but
In other words, you could go to, I'm trying to think of what a health, there's hardly any left.
Well,
But
doesn't matter.
you could go to a health insurance company and say, okay, here's our claims history, what would you do for us, what would you charge? But if you go to a broker, it's going to be a little bit more challenging because of the fact that you have to have a process for an extraordinary, unspecifiable service. That's the only point.
But there's a lot of brokers out there for almost every type of small business, anything. So you're gonna have to either go to a broker, I mean, unless you go into Allstate, president of Allstate or something, you're gonna go to a broker.
Well, as Mr. Vinlon said, let's go back to the basics and get the
Just don't
information.
assume that the person that you go to is going to be the one who winds up with the business.
Right.
Okay.
Right now, I'm just getting the claims data, right?
Right, that's it.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilwoman Tedesco?
Thank you, Mayor. A number of items. One, a quick update on the volunteer award card that I spoke about at the last meeting as well. We are now up to 9 Garwood businesses participating in the program. Look forward to getting these cards in the hands of our volunteers by this April. Another note, a few years ago, back in 2015, I encouraged a Crossing Guard Appreciation Breakfast to be held, and it was a nice event held at the end of the school year by then Chief of Police Bruce Underhill. I mentioned this at a police committee meeting while I was on the committee, and I just wanted to voice public support for this taking place again. Our crossing guards provide an important service to Garwood's children, and many think it falls under the jurisdiction of the school, but in fact it falls under that of our police department. And so to take it a step further, I also just want to express my thoughts to the council that maybe we should consider doing more staff appreciation events or something of that nature. As the saying goes, a little goes a long way, and I think we should come together as a council to support that. Another item I've got cut short. I'm glad the mayor reached out to the RVSA representative, as did I, to get them at our second meeting in March. That would be great to have the presentation from them. Also, it was very good to have the water company at our last meeting, but I think it might be worthwhile to ask them to come back at some point when they're in the middle or midst of the project, because at that point, they can make a presentation to us, keep us up to date, we can ask questions, and most importantly, the public can ask questions in that way too. Okay, moving down, 2 more items. In light of the recent tragedy in Parkland, Florida, I know a number of parents want to make sure Lincoln School is as safe as possible for their children, and every resident of Garwood wants the same. I'm confident that our police department and school administration have worked together on safety measures and procedures. A couple years ago, the council, in fact, was invited to watch an active shooter training session for our local police officers, which I and others attended. I am also aware that Superintendent Quigley emailed information on school security to parents recently, which is good. To add to that, however, I think this is very important that our community feels secure, and I would like to suggest a joint public meeting be held, led by perhaps our police chief, school superintendent, and mayor, to provide information and answer questions. And I know, of course, that for security purposes, all details would not be able to be provided, but I believe it would help provide reassurance to our community. And then lastly, something I'm moving from my finance report to workshop. So let me just get this straight here. So the Finance Committee has been working on the budget, as everyone knows, and it is important to our committee that we continue the practice of 2 special budget meetings to allow for ample time for feedback from the mayor and the rest of the council on the budget, as well as to provide the public with a chance to see the process in action and to voice their thoughts. Our Finance Committee has planned for the 2 special budget meetings to take place on Tuesday, March 6th and Tuesday, March 20th, both at 7 p.m. here in council chambers. So if we're agreeable to that, Ms. Ariema has a resolution deleted from the consent agenda that we can move later. So again, those dates were Tuesday, March 6th and Tuesday, March 20th at 7 p.m. here.
Does anyone have a problem with that?
Wonderful.
Do we need to?
Well, we discussed that in our committee, and we felt very comfortable with 2, because as I'm sure you remember, the last couple of years, we have had 2, actually dating back to 2012 when I first became a finance chair, and we opened the process up from 1 meeting to 2, and for more transparency with the public, and also just for the council and the mayor to really get their hands in and involved in the budget. And both meetings are considerably long. They're not half-hour each, so I would say I would rather have 2 meetings, so that way it's not 1 4-hour meeting where we all know how we feel at hour 3 and 4. So
I think this can't hurt. I mean, like I said, it's our time, we're putting it out for the people in Garwood, so there's no negative as far as I'm concerned. If people come, they come. If they don't, they don't. At least we're putting it out there for everybody to witness.
So we'll have Ms. Ariema read the resolution.
right, later
Okay.
on. And then I might as well just bring this up now too for my report, because it has to do with the meeting, but a less formal one. So as a committee, we were discussing the Breaking Down the Budget Town Hall idea, which was launched for the first time last year. It was held at Lincoln School. But we decided to make some adjustments to that. Last year was the first go at it, but this year we thought about holding more of an informal type of session right here at Borough Hall. We're looking at the date of Thursday, March 15th, and we would do this as a finance committee. We ourselves will be providing light refreshments and ask residents to please join us, to come speak with us. We hope we can get their thoughts about how they're feeling about different issues and what should be prioritized, and also try our best to answer any questions they may have. And also, if we can't answer that night, at least we got the question and now we have the opportunity to get back to them. We thought this meeting would be in some ways similar to a Mayor's Saturday, that informal, have a cup of coffee, have some cookies, and talk about the budget. Sounds like fun to me anyway. So I just wanted to let the council know that that's something we would look to do. It would just be the finance committee and informal, but why not give it a try?
And we'll shove all the hard questions over to you.
No problem.
Nice
She
stuff as
knows
well.
all.
Okay. We can share with you, Eileen, don't worry.
I just wanted to speak on a couple of things in support of the safety meeting. I think is a brilliant idea. We certainly need this type of meeting to alleviate the anxiety of what's been going on nationally. So I definitely think that's a wonderful idea, and get those parties, the mayor, and get chief to agree to a date for that. And also, I definitely agree about the Crossing Guard Appreciation Breakfast. I think the idea of showing how much we care about these people who, obviously they're not, getting compensated a whole lot for what they do, in the sense that, maybe they can feel a sense of pride in what they do by us showing their appreciation by doing this breakfast. So I support it.
Okay, I was,
Oh, no.
I was just going to say, I'll spearhead that meeting with the three chiefs and superintendent myself.
Great, that'd be wonderful. Yeah, I was just gonna voice my support for that. Obviously, as a parent with 2 kids in the school, it's a scary thing. And I have some questions too that, I'd love to throw to the chief and the superintendent and find out a little bit more about, the methods that they're taking. I do appreciate the superintendent reaching out to the parents, and maybe we can get a little bit deeper into it in a formal meeting. That's all, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, on to public comment. Anyone in the audience who wishes to address the mayor and council, please step to the microphone. State your name and address. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Al Del Conte, 545 Locust Avenue. I'd like to thank the Mayor and Council for your presentation this evening to the Mustang Works of Heart. That was very nice. Thank you for that. At our last council meeting, you had brought up maintenance at the turf field, at the athletic field complex. There was an issue about the repairing the torn turf, that wasn't part of that maintenance agreement with this company for $1,200 for each time they come out. If you could explain a little bit more about what they're doing when they come out?
I think I know what. They came out once in November. They were supposed to fix those seams, so.
No, that,
Okay. But you're not
is that
saying-
part of that, or?
You're not saying that didn't happen, are you?
No, I'm just asking
Okay.
a little more clarification on what they're doing when they come out.
Okay, so they came out then and they repaired the seams, and I guess they groomed it, does that sound?
The grooming, yeah.
Okay. Now, we got, that was just like a, okay, so the people that
I have the document.
play there, that's like, that told us we need, they had to come out. So they
Mhm.
came out, so that was that. So this is a maintenance, and when they come, they will do grooming, all seam repairs, cleaning of all debris and fibers. If infill rubber is needed, extra charge will be discussed prior. So they're gonna come twice and do that.
So the seams will be repaired.
April 1st to April 15th, and then between November 1st and November 15th,
Okay,
for $1,200.
so $1,200. How about relining of the field? I don't know if anybody has been down there to look at it and see how it is, but the lines that are on the field for soccer and field hockey are worn off. I believe they're like painted on. And the equipment, like the soccer nets and the field hockey boxes, I guess they're called, I don't think they're called nets, I think they're called boxes. I know at least one of the field hockey boxes is broken. The wheel keeps falling off it. So which could be a reason why the turf is getting maybe a little rip in it. Because field hockey is and I have nothing against that, it's a girls' sport. So it needs the boxes, I mean, and they're little girls because it's a little field. They're young girls, not high school girls. So these girls haven't gone to the gym yet. too for muscle tone. So I think moving the boxes, they need to be as easy as possible. I see also we are doing vegetation spraying in the brook. I'm just going to anticipate that being the first step towards our rat control. Is there pesticides in the making to be coming after that also on a regular basis?
It was gonna be coming twice a year, wasn't that what it was agreed
No.
upon?
Did I answer?
Sorry.
So they're gonna spray the brook once, which is allegedly to kill the growth. That has to do with rats. It is supposed to be that if there's something on the brook, we call the exterminator and they bait the brook, but our relationship with the Board of Health, Westfield Regional Board of Health, is that they'll come on complaints and investigate and bait certain areas, but they don't just go and bait the whole brook. They never did. I don't know if they want to find out.
That's what was told to me, that it was gonna be sprayed twice a year.
This time it's only going to be sprayed once. I'm only assuming that I don't know why they changed it for once, but last year we did it too late. The stuff already grew. It's very hard to kill it.
I know, and I asked the question, and I think you told me it was gonna be done in April and November.
It used to be done twice a year, not in November. November we did already.
All right, well, it was
But-
twice a year.
Well, I'm trying to explain. It used to be twice a year, but the quote came in for once a year, so I can only assume that it's only required now or necessary once a year, because I never told them how many times to do their job, that's just the way they did it. So it has to come very early in the spring, so it can kill it before it grows. Once it starts to get growing, it takes over, like that's what happened last year. So we're gonna spray it once, and that's what's on the agenda tonight. That's just to kill the growth, the plants though, not.
The assumption is they're not gonna eat.
Did we ever have someone come in and spray for the pesticide?
No, there's no such thing as spraying for rats. You gotta bait.
Well, bait, I should say
Yes,
spray,
yes,
I'm sorry.
yes. We don't. The regional, Westfield Regional Board of Health does it. Through our regional Board of
But
Health.
they've only done it when there was a complaint, it's not a,
They do it like they get a complaint and they send out the inspector who will go to the person who's complaining, house, look, confirm. And if it's in the brook, then they send the exterminator, he baits the brook in that vicinity. And yes, that happens all the time. And the problem, there's still a problem. I mean, not just in the brook. We don't live on the brook, and I told you guys last summer we had a large rat problem in our yard, because we had a garden, I was gonna say a farm. It's like a farm, my husband's not here, but it's like a farm, but yeah. So we had a big rat problem, but he, just like a farmer, killed them all.
Sources of food there,
Yeah.
they look for,
Yeah.
food.
That was the first time I ever had that problem at my house, so. What do you do? Deal with it, I don't know.
So I guess I could bring that question up that Mr. Del Conte has at my next meeting, which is mid-March with the Board of Health. And I think, I'm presuming, that if we do more baiting, the budget that the Board of Health has set forth for Garwood would probably increase.
It's already set for
That's okay,
2018.
so it's it, all right, so I will address that question.
But I don't know if they'll want to charge more monies if you said, we want to do the whole brook. Like, that might be something that is not included in our contract.
I would imagine.
The situation baiting, yes, they do that.
Okay, and the other question that Mr. Del Conte gave to the council, which is also a question I'm giving back to the council, is something I have no idea how it works. Mr. Del Conte is asking who is paying for the nets, the maintenance of this field? Is it the town and council's responsibility, or is this the profit from the rec center? How does this get paid? Where does this money come from? Is that part of your question, Mr. Del Conte?
No, but that's a,
Because I'm curious to where this money comes from
I'll
also.
answer that. It was brought up a couple of years ago. I was on that committee. We went down and inspected the goalposts. We saw that they were slightly inverted. Spoke to a kid, older kid that was there. He said it's the people hanging on the goalpost. They brought that to council. I said that council shouldn't be paying for that the rec complex should. They're supposed to be self-maintaining. And it went back to the rec complex to be honest with you, I thought they bought new goalposts. It was never brought up again.
Guess that'll be in the meeting that we're gonna have with the
But
record.
to address part of Mr. Del Conte's
Yes.
question is, he's really asking about the tears in the field, and the tears from the field, from what he's asking, is because the post that the field hockey girls are using is missing a wheel. So that comes back to maintenance, which is becoming a large bill for the municipality, so I'm asking, how does that get paid for?
The real question is this a DPW item or is this a
Sorry.
recreation item?
I'm asking this because I'm
Well,
informing
I
myself
will-
and the rest of the public.
Do we want to go further down this rabbit hole, or do we want to let Mr. Del Conte finish? Sorry, Rich.
No, it's fine.
Mr. Conti, would you like to finish, please?
Is there any news on a street sweeper or a bucket truck for the borough? I don't know, driving around the town, you know that I do kind of look around for things like that, and the curbs are in need of cleaning, spring cleaning. I had to visit a street sweeper once last year on the 500 block of Lowe's Avenue. As in the past, how some of the longtime residents of town know, we used to get a visit once a week from the street sweeper. Okay? Service no longer available because our street sweeper is down. Is it gonna be repaired, or are we gonna get another one? Same thing with the bucket truck. The guys are going around trimming trees from the ground. They don't have the access of the bucket truck. And they've started at the end of town at Hemlock, Hickory, and they're working their way down. I see they posted signs on Locust, so they've made it to there. But they're doing it all on foot. They're not doing it with a piece of equipment. So that, I imagine that takes a lot longer. And there was another item that I was thinking of, but perhaps I'll remember that in the second half of the meeting. Thank you.
Mayor, if I
Yes.
may. Thank you, Mr. Del Conte.
Do you want to finish public comment, or do you want to answer? Just
Well,
Ask the question.
I'd like to address it right.
In regard to what you're saying with the bucket truck and the street sweeper, right now, we, as you said, do not have a bucket truck. When we do need one, if there is an emergency or it is really a need, we are able to borrow Fanwood's bucket truck, and we have done so. The tree trimming that you're talking about is actually being done for the reason of street sweeping. I don't have a report on it tonight because we're not quite there, but I will have one shortly. We will be looking at adding to our shared service agreement with Fanwood in the use of their street sweeper. Once that all goes through their council, I can bring it back to you, but we are looking into it because, as you said, our street sweeper is out of commission at this point, but we will be taking care of the problem, and we will have some more frequent street sweeping. So right now, because their street sweeper is much bigger, they are trimming down the trees to help. They need to be trimmed anyway, but we're getting it started a little early so that come spring, we can begin that street sweeping.
The street sweeper was supposed to be part of the original shared service agreement. That was
Part
all
of our
idea.
shared
it makes
service,
sense to us.
if I can finish,
Sorry.
the street sweeper itself is a part of our agreement because of the equipment. However, their street sweeper is much different than ours, and our current laborers are not able to drive that street sweeper, so we do have to use one of Fanwood's laborers, and so that is the additional amendment that we're negotiating with Fanwood at this moment. So they will be using their men coming into our town to do that.
And they didn't know that at the beginning of the shared service agreement?
We didn't have any use, we had a street sweeper at that point.
But it's been
This
on-
is now because our street sweeper is out of commission, and then this will enhance the agreement.
And that agreement that will be free. That will be no extra charge to us.
That's currently, it's going through the council, they have discussed it, it's gotta be put onto their agenda, and when that happens, I will bring it to council.
I think we got a little bit gypped on the shared service agreement, because I think the street sweeper was one of the things that a lot of people in town really missed.
But as I said, the
I know it's
equipment
not
is
your fault,
different.
but
No, I'm just saying the equipment, use of their equipment when they're not using it is part of our agreement. They use their street sweeper obviously very often. However, because we are in this shared service and we're working together, we are negotiating this extra amendment to the agreement. But again, our laborers can't use that particular piece of equipment, so we don't have any shared service with their labor. So that is where the new agreement comes in.
Thank you.
Okay.
So it's kind of a win-win, to be quite honest.
I'm sorry.
I think it's a win-win. Now that our street sweeper, we don't have to go out, unless we would want to go out and purchase a new street sweeper.
That's a whole different meeting.
Exactly, so close to the tune of $200,000. But to answer some of Mr. Del Conte's questions about the recreation complex and the field, as far as relining it goes, I know that the chair of the Recreation Commission, Jack Sullivan, was spearheading that in the past, so he would be the resource to go to about the best method, because I know there was talk about one way that was more expensive and another way that was less expensive. I believe we went with the less expensive route, and so that might be why it's reappearing now. But again, I think he'd be the one to talk to, and I think that's all I have. I just wanted to point that out.
Councilman Lazaro said before, is that we will be meeting him very soon. We have multiple questions and issues to ask.
And when you do your further research with Fanwood, I want to know a little bit more detail as to, all these guys on our DPW all possess a CDL and a commercial driver's license, and I don't understand why they can't drive their truck. Is this more like Clint doesn't want, our guy's driving his truck that belongs in Fanwood? You don't have to give me the answer now. If you want it, you can. But I think it's like, why can't our guys get trained to do it?
Exactly.
Well, it's not that, if they're giving us if their men are coming over to do it, I'm not sure what the problem is, though. It doesn't really quite make sense. This is a much bigger piece of equipment. It's a much different piece of equipment from our street sweeper. A much more costly piece of equipment than our street sweeper. I think in order for us to also maintain the benefit of this, we want to keep it, this piece of equipment up to par. So if they're willing to have one of their laborers come over and do this, I certainly don't see a problem with that.
For free. I don't see a problem either.
Well, the only problem I see is the town of Fanwood having to free up one of their laborers to come to a neighboring borough, which happens to be Garwood. So that person would be taken away from doing his duties in that community, and now is doing work in Garwood. So going back to what Mr. Sarno, Councilman Sarno was saying, is why can't or why shouldn't one of our DPW's workers be certified to use that street cleaner? Because many years ago, as this was sold to us with this deal, it was every piece of equipment, right down to a buggy truck, was like the icing of the cake. And this was how this whole deal was sold to us. So that's why I'm questioning what Mr. Sarno is questioning you on.
Isn't it to our benefit, though, Garwood's benefit, if we're using one of Fanwood's laborers and then all of our laborers are now available to do other things? Why are we wanting to put more onto ours if we're getting this for free?
On the receiving side, you are correct. But
So isn't that for Fanwood to have to worry about?
If you look at their side, they are less reluctant to send
What
somebody
about
to
an
help
insurance point
us.
of view? What happened to that?
This is,
I'm sorry.
this
Can we wait
is
till we
public
actually
comment. This
Sorry.
is not bad during the commitment with FAM at this point. I think that will come forward in the near future. Once the budget process is complete, I'm going to ask the finance chair and the committee to review that in detail, and that's a double-edged sword on our behalf. We have the finance chair, and we also have the DPW chair on the same committee. I think they'll do a great job. No offense.
I don't think anybody was badgering anybody else. I think that
It's getting kind of, Anyone else? Mr. Patterson?
Let me do the magic. Good evening, Mayor, ladies and gentlemen. Councilman Bruce Patterson, 325 Willow Avenue. The repair or the maintenance of the netting at the rec field, that's the rec field fees, right? You collect fees?
Yes.
And I know one year you captured about $40,000 of it back into the budget, so it sounds like that should be an easy answer. So I don't know if anybody was questioning that. The sweeper, just a simple question. If the sweeper's in Vanwood and we're using Garwood, how does it get here? I guess they can drive it over the roads through Westfield? Yeah. Okay. The Christmas tree, I'm happy to hear. I guess I don't have to call it a holiday tree anymore. I can call it a Christmas tree. Be politically correct. Is that what it's getting to? Because I know Mayor Hokinson over at Roselle Park. I mean, he started calling it a Christmas tree. Everybody got up in arms and that. So, but just religious artifacts and separation of church and state, to me, is getting a little out of hand again. And I thought it died away, but I can call it a Christmas tree. I guess that's right, without any repercussions.
I will talk about you.
Thanks. The RVSA coming in on the 27th. I mean, and I brought this up last meeting. Make sure he brings the calculations for the last 5 years and maybe the calculations for the other towns so we can actually compare what, the issues are, because to us, I mean, we hardly built anything in the last 5 years, and yet, as we all know, especially the finance chair, I mean, the cost just jumped up astronomically. This year is what, 9%? Finance chair?
About $60,000.
Is that 9%?
But as we go secular, we go down, we go up, someone goes down, and there's other communities in worse shape than we are. But as you indicated, 5 years seems to be the key number. It's a rolling average of 5 years. This year, only going out, big number came into the formula.
See, that's what we heard the last presentation about how great it was
I
going to
was
be.
on that
and it went
commission
down
for
1 year.
14 years, and I heard the same thing.
Yeah. So, I mean, we had like 3 or 4 years of huge increases, and they promised, I said, well, a 5-year rolling average is going to drop down. Yes, indeed. Last year, it actually did drop down. And this year, back up.
That's what they're coming forward to talk.
And that's why we need the calculations, to make sure, everything's on the up and up. And I've heard explanations about, and Mr. Renaud and the borough engineer, was talking about the meters upstream, downstream.
Well, there's 4 meters, Mr. Renata, I believe.
I don't know the number.
Oh, there's at least 3 that I know of.
Yeah, okay, but I mean, this is serious enough to, wonder where all this money is, that we're paying. Oh, the safety meeting that you're planning to have,
Yeah,
it was a public safety meeting?
we haven't gotten that far yet.
Oh, okay.
I assume it is, but
Yeah, if there's a possibility, could you record it and actually put it on your website? That's what, for the public access. That may be a good idea. Okay. There's possibly financial meetings on 3/6, 3/13, and 3/20 budget meetings. Is that what you're proposing?
315, not
Right, that's
313.
the sit down with the budget committee, and the council meetings are the 6th and the 20th.
All right. And then we have a council meeting on the 27th.
yes, we're here all month.
Yeah, that's a that money's a big, it's a big subject.
I'm just making a statement of correctness, that's all.
Well, you have to be here all month. I can say home if I want.
But you won't.
The health benefits. Yeah, the Board of Ed, I don't know if you know, the Board of Ed just left the New Jersey state health benefits. Okay? They just left it. They went with a private firm, I don't recall what it was. AmeriHealth, but anyway, but it was about 6 years ago, they actually left the private firms they were using and they went into the state health benefits. That was about 6 years ago, roughly. But anyway, the next year after they went into the state health, it jumped up like 10%. So I mean, it was like, I think no matter what you do when it comes to that.
Oh, that's why we're gonna start the research.
Yeah. It's like you're gonna get burned no matter what. It's sad when it comes to health benefits. And I guess, and I'll leave this up for possibly Member Tedesco to bring it up in discussion at the next meeting for the board, for the, I guess, the Streets and Roads, if that's the one that handles the Hartman Park and the time capsule, because we had just talked about that.
Yes.
So I guess in discussion we'll,
Buildings and grounds?
Trying to think.
yeah, Hartman Park should be buildings and grounds.
Buildings and grounds, sure.
That's
I
correct.
can type something up,
Oh,
share
build-
it with
yeah, I
you,
see.
and then send it to them.
Yeah, all right, but I mean, just bring it up in that committee report in discussion, sure. Give the heads
I
up.
don't know what you're talking about.
Well, not
I
yet,
will-
that's just it, that's what
I
I'm
will
saying.
add to my report.
Someone's
Mr.
done it.
Patterson, can you summarize?
Oh, I think that's about it. Okay, good. Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none this time, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
All in favor? Shall we move on, council?
My personal
Thank you. Councilwoman, is there another one you want to look at?
I had that in 1970.
No.
Okay.
Looks like a lot of work. Yeah. Went down there, we inspected it.
Thanks. We gotta go out.
Please rise for a moment of silence and salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Notice of the meeting was provided to the Westfield Leader, advertised on January 4th, 2018. Notification was sent to the Star Ledger and promptly posted on the municipal public bulletin board. Found in the office of the municipal clerk, informing the public of the time and place according to the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Law, Chapter 231, TL 1975. Roll call, Ms. Ariano.
Mayor Lombardo,
Here?
Councilman Kruger,
Here.
Councilman Lazaro,
Here.
Councilman Forman, Councilman Sarno,
Here.
Councilman Cisco,
Here.
and Council President Kubica.
Yeah.
Ms. Ariano, the minutes.
Regular workshop and executive minutes of the Mayor and Council held on February 13, 2018.
Do I have a motion to accept the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Communications, Ms. Ariano.
New Jersey State League of Municipalities Mayor's Advisory,
Receive and file.
Water Valley Sewer Authority minutes,
Receive and file.
The town of Westfield ordinances.
Receive and file. Going to ordinance for introduction. Ms. Ariano, please read bond ordinance 18-03 by title only.
Yes, Mayor. Bond ordinance to authorize the undertaking of structural stabilization project at the Michael R. Campoli Litigation Building in, by, and for the Borough of Garwood and County of Union, State of New Jersey, to appropriate the sum of $50,000 to pay the cost thereof. To make a down payment, to authorize the issuance of bonds to finance such appropriation, and to provide for the issuance of bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance of such bonds.
Do I have a motion to introduce ordinance 1803?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Roll call, please, Ms. Ariano.
Councilman DeCour?
Yes.
Councilman Mazaro?
Aye.
Councilman McCormick?
Yes.
Councilman Sorno?
Aye.
Councilman Fisto?
Aye.
Council President Rubenstein?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Council standing committees, reports and other reports. Police, Councilman Sarno.
Thanks, Mayor. Regular office hours for residents and commuters in need of parking permits have been established on Tuesdays and Thursdays between the hours of 3 and 6 p.m. To schedule an appointment with Parking Enforcement Officer Patterson, email him at j-patterson@garwood.org. The inaugural session of the Garwood Police Department Youth Academy has been scheduled for the week of August 20th through the 25th. The program is offered to youth in grades 6 through 8 of the 2018-2019 school year. Parents or guardians looking to enroll their children can contact Sergeant John Wright or Sergeant Philip Lewis for an application. And signs are in order for the new residential permit areas. Once they are in and installed, we will begin the phase-in period for parking enforcement of the areas. In addition to no parking signs, the department is also in the process of auditing all signage to replace worn and faded signs. With help from the DPW, we are replacing the faded flashing stop signs at Spruce and Center Street and also at Pine Ave and East Street with more visible LED flashing lights. And I know the one on East and Pine is up.
Yes.
So that's all for my report.
Very good. Thank you, Councilman. Public Health, Councilman McCormick.
Not this time, Mayor.
Thank you. Streets and Roads Ecology, Council President Blumenstock.
Thank you, Mayor. In addition to regular garbage pickup, the DPW installed new basketball nets at the sports complex and performed sign maintenance and relocation in various areas of the borough. They also installed the LED flashing stop sign, as we just said, at Pine and East. The other sign will be installed this week, weather permitting. The DPW also assisted the electrician with the new light installation along North Avenue that was damaged by a motor vehicle accident. Winter pothole repairs were performed at Spruce Avenue, Cedar Street, and Hickory Avenue, and shade tree pruning and elevating was done on the 200, 300, and 400 blocks of Beach Avenue. Public Works employees worked a total of 22.5 man-hours of time and a half and 24.5 hours of double time for snow removal on February 17th and February 18th. And that's all for my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Council President. Fire, Councilman McCormick.
Thank you, Mayor. Although I don't have an official report from the fire department, I would like to take this time to let everybody know that the council, mayor, and administration attended a retirement dinner for a fireman. And I must tell you, maybe that's why I lost my voice, but we all had a grand time.
Yes.
It was an experience. It was very, very nice to see us all get together and especially sit at one table. It was a grand thing, so I just want to let everybody know it was a good time. Thank you.
Thank you for your positive comments. And also to, not only were the local dignitaries there, but many fire chiefs from Union County on behalf of former Chief Spina. Finance, Councilwoman Tedesco.
Thank you, Mayor. While I gave a lot of it away at workshop, I just want to say that the Finance Committee has met twice since our last council meeting as it continues to work on compiling the 2018 budget. And even though there were 2 meetings, each went for at least 3.5 hours. And we will be meeting again twice this week, so rest assured we're hard at work. And that's all for my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Buildings and Grounds, Councilman Lazaro.
Thank you, Mayor. I attended the Freeholders meeting on Thursday, February 15th, and was fortunate enough to be able to speak during public comment on passing the level of the playing field ordinance. They unanimously passed the ordinance, which should provide Garwood hopefully with up to $20,000 towards the cost of the Hartman Park. We're just waiting for official confirmation of that. If the council passes a resolution to award the contract to MRC Game Time, I will provide a more detailed timeline for the completion of the project at the next council meeting. However, just to review, I would like to encourage the council to vote for this resolution, as the county is likely going to be paying for nearly 60% of the total costs when factoring in both grants, and the benefits to our special needs children as well as the town would be tremendous. I asked our clerk to provide a copy of the proposed plan, which you guys have a copy of it. It's this sheet in front of you, which is the updated version of what's going to be in the park, and there's a couple extra copies also on the table for those residents that want to take a look at that. In terms of the actual proposed plan, it includes a sensory tunnel and other special needs equipment designed to encourage inclusion of all children. Also, the equipment includes ADA compliant pieces that allow those with physical handicaps to utilize many of the features of the playground. I also had a resident ask about the general timeline of events that led to this point. Initially, we aimed for $110,000 total cost, but added the sensory tunnel after learning about the level of the playing field grant to get a grand total of $131,127.52, with the county matching $55,000 and what looks to be about a $20,000 level of playing field grant. The borough would be paying about $56,127.52 for the total project. Due to this investment, I intend on holding a meeting with the Buildings and Grounds Committee along with the foreman and superintendent of the DPW to design a plan for seasonal maintenance reports that will ensure that the investment will last a very long time. On the rec complex building, Falcon Group, the borough's hired architect and inspector, determined that there was more damage at our last meeting. I just wanted to update for those residents who weren't here for that last meeting. That there was more damage to the recreation complex building when the door was removed by the hire contractor, Patagonia Roofing. Falcon found construction defects in which parts of the building were not sufficiently waterproof, leading to severe structural degradation. To restore the structural integrity of the building, Falcon was able to negotiate on the borough's behalf from an original quote of $81,000 to $69,000. This would be in addition to the $47,000 the borough already approved for repairing the defective door and areas where water could be seen infiltrating the building. The total cost paid to the contractor would be $116,000, and as we just passed in the introduction of the ordinance, required the council to amend the original rec complex bond for an additional $50,000, which we all just passed unanimously. These would cover the costs as well as the monies required to pay for the oversight of Falcon to make sure everything is properly installed. As a result of the complex being closed for close to a year, the council unanimously voted to place, as we said, an ordinance to amend the bond. Due to the time that it takes, obviously, to have posted that hearing for amending the bond, as well as the time it takes to secure it, the likely timeline is for Patagonia to start construction in early April, and they have given us a time frame of no more than 45 days until completion. This would ideally make the reopening of the complex take place in mid to late May. Right now, due to these costs, the council is considering the possibility of pursuing litigation to recoup the costs of the damages against the responsible parties involved in the original construction of the complex. While I'm extremely frustrated by the length of time and cost this project has taken, I'm committed as chair of the Building and Grounds Committee to make sure that this repair is done correctly, and I appreciate that the building closure and repair does not directly impact the use or rental of the fields themselves. That's all for my report.
Thank you, Councilman. Laws and License, Councilman Recupero.
Thank you, Mayor. Laws and License Committee made a unanimous decision to bring forward 2 ordinances at the upcoming council meeting. We had another discussion with Bob today just to confirm the wording to make sure we finally got it right. Laws and License has been working on the property maintenance code and the fence ordinance for corner properties for almost 2 years. The fence ordinance is to give back the rights to corner property owners for a 6-foot fence, either open or closed, provided they meet the proper setbacks. Everyone deserves the right to use their property as a tax-paying resident of the community and not be penalized simply because they live on a corner. This will amend subsection H in 106-118, fences and walls, in chapter 106, land use of the Code of the Borough of Garwood, to amend restrictions on fences on corner properties. The Property Maintenance Code, an ordinance of the Borough of Garwood repealing Article
5.
I can't even see. Property maintenance in Chapter 67, Buildings and Grounds of the Code of the Borough of Garwood. and enacting a new Article 5, Property Maintenance in Chapter 67, Buildings and Structures by adopting with certain revisions the 2015 edition of the International Property Maintenance Code, regulating and governing the conditions and maintenance of all property, buildings, and structures. This basically updates the VOCA code with the International Property Maintenance Code with some modifications to the International Property Maintenance Code. Council will receive a draft of both ordinances in the packet to review, so it can be discussed at the next council meeting. Excuse me, that's all, Mayor.
Thank you. Recreation, Councilman Lazaro.
No report, but as mentioned, we are going to be meeting early next week.
Thank you very much. Garwood Senior Citizen Liaison, Council President Blumenstock.
Thank you, Mayor. Our last meeting was on February 15th. We had a guest speaker from Clear Captions. This is a federally funded program that will provide free closed caption phones to those with hearing problems. You get an audio and visual cue that a call is coming in, and the call is transcribed on the phone screen. Anyone with internet, a landline, and hearing deficiency is eligible. I was also able to hand out the Valentine crafts and cards from Lincoln School's Mustangs Works of Hearts Club, as we saw honored earlier tonight. They were very much appreciated. Also, our baking experiment, where each table brought in some baked goods for our dessert, was a hit. So our next meeting is March 1st, and that's all for my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Council President. Library's Mayor Representative, Councilman Lazaro.
Thank you, Mayor. On February 15th, the Garwood Public Library presented a performance of the oldies band Rewind. More than 40 people enjoyed a great night of music, and there was even some dancing. Check out the pictures on the library Facebook page. 2 new social studies databases have been added to the library's website. The first is Pebble Go, a database geared towards the needs of K-2 learners. It helps students learn foundational research skills, plus providing critical early reader supports like audio voiceovers and text highlighting. The second is Pebble Go Next, a comprehensive digital resource tailored to meet the needs and curriculum of grades 3 to 5 learners. Both Pebble Go and Pebble Go Next can be accessed 24/7 from home, school, or on the go, anywhere there is an internet connection. Students and teachers should contact the Garwood Public Library for login and password information. And a reminder of the library's regular programs include the Knitting Club every Monday and Thursday at 10:30 a.m., Kids Chess Mondays in March at 3 p.m., Book Clubs Monday, March 26th at 1 p.m., Design at STEM every Tuesday at 3 through March, Storytime every Wednesday at 10:30 a.m., Kids Craft Wednesday, March 21st at 3 p.m., Lego Club March 8th and 22nd at 3 p.m., Movie Time every Friday at 10 a.m. The Garwood Library is open Monday through Thursday from 9 to 8, Fridays from 9 to 4:30, and Saturdays from 9 to 1. The library will be closed Friday and Saturday, March 30th and 31st. That's all for my report.
Thank you, Councilman. School Board Liaison, Councilman McCormick.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. The Board of Education meeting, Board of Ed will begin discussing the budget process in the next few weeks, and the public hearing will be held on May 1st. Also, 31 hardworking students made the honor roll for the second marking period. Students from the PEP Club were presented and promoted positive actions of their peers and are looking forward to continue their success in the upcoming year. Again, I apologize for my voice. There was approval for 2 school clubs, the Pay It Forward Club and the Backstage Club. One teacher expressed her displeasure in her new healthcare carrier. On Thursday, March 8th, the 8th grade class will host a bingo night at the Polish Cultural Foundation located at 177 Broadway in Clark. The fundraiser is to assist with a Gettysburg trip. Tickets start at $35 for 10 games. The doors open at 6:30 p.m. and will start at 7:30 p.m. Also, kindergarten parents are welcome on March 15th for tea with the superintendent. Educator of the Year votes are due by March 1st. The winner will be celebrated at the EFG dinner in April. Decisions still have not been made on the Hardman Park or on the gym floor. Superintendent quickly addressed an email and sent earlier to discuss with the parents about the safety of the school. That's all for my report, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman. Celebrates the public event and holidays liaison, Councilwoman Cooper.
Thank you, Mayor. Celebrations discuss the upcoming event for the Easter egg hunt. The date is Saturday, March 17th, 2018 at noon. Rain date is March 24th. Setup for the committee starts at 10. Tina, can you please put the event on the marquee outside if you haven't done that already? Also, part of the discussions were how many gifts will be required for the different age groups, candy to fill the eggs, the DJ, and raffles to be given out for a shot to win a basket, a gift. They wanted me to remind the mayor about his basket donation and making a statement.
The basket has already been purchased.
Okay. The next meeting will be on March 14th at 7 o'clock for the committee to wrap the gifts. Also getting a head start on the Memorial Day event on May 28th at the Knights of Columbus. The mayor is working on getting a veteran to speak.
Well, I'll just say that I am trying to get a veteran to speak, but you have to realize it's very difficult sometimes. These great men and women of our country have served, but they don't like to talk about it. I'm going to try my best. I'm not saying I'm not done.
No, that's okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And also too, my mayor's message will be available at that.
I'm sorry?
My mayor's message will be available.
Okay. Thank you.
Moving on, Union County Air Traffic Noise Advisory Board Representative, Councilman McCormick.
I have no report, Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Special Review Committee, Councilwoman Tedesco.
No report, Mayor?
Historical Committee, Councilwoman Tedesco.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The Historical Committee met last night, and it was another very productive meeting. The committee discussed the facade of the castle or Gothic part of the Aeolian building, also known as the paperboard, and felt preserving it should be a top priority for Garwood. The first ever Historical Committee newsletter has been printed and will be delivered by volunteers in the coming weeks to all the homes in town as a way of furthering one of the missions of the committee, which is to educate the public about Garwood's rich history, and it will also serve to explain what the Historical Committee has been active in. The group looks to make this a biannual publication. And thanks to its newest member, Chelsea Brandt, the committee is preparing to launch a website this year, which will be a terrific online archive of Garwood's historical materials. Also, the committee is continuing to plan its booth at the upcoming Garwood Rock Street Fair in June. Per the president of the Historical Committee speaking earlier, Mr. Bruce Patterson, about the time capsule idea. This was something that was kicked around back in around 2003 with the Centennial Committee that was active at the time, and then they had the idea of doing a time capsule in Garwood, but it really just never came to fruition. So here we are on the 115th anniversary of Garwood, and Mr. Patterson brought up the idea of the time capsule. The committee loved it, and we're thinking right now that Hartman Park might be a good place for it. It might be difficult to get it in time with the construction, but even if it took place later on this year, maybe that would be a great place for it. We were thinking there's a really large rock there, maybe underneath that, maybe we can eventually add a plaque to that folder. It could be a really good location, and if I can pass this along to the Buildings and Grounds Committee to review, and we can move forward. The last thing I just want to say is that certainly other events and fundraising ideas were discussed, and of course, as always, I'll be happy to promote them at future council meetings. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Parking Committee, Councilman Sarno.
No report.
Thank you. Ms. Ariema, Officers Reports.
Municipal Court Administrator LaShawn Duran, monthly report for January 2018. Chief of Police James H. Wright, monthly report for January 2018. Treasurer CFO Sandy Bruns, 2017 fourth quarter report.
Do I have a motion to accept the officers' reports?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to public comment. Anyone in the audience who wishes to address the mayor and council, please step to the microphone, state your full name and address. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. Jim Matthew, 335 Hazel Avenue. I just want to follow up on something I was surprised was not included in the Laws and License Committee report. Resident Bruce Patterson brought up the appointment of Senator Scutari's former chief of staff to a county position. And both councilwomen Kukuro and Tedesco said they would take it to the Laws and License Committee. So I want to know what happened to that. Secondly, Councilwoman Tedesco expressed her disappointment with the appointment of Mr. Oatman, I believe. And I just want to find out exactly what your disappointment was. Because President Bruce Patterson was alleging that there was some corruption behind that, and that Mr. Oatman was not qualified for the position he got. So, and it sounded like you were agreeing with him. So So I just wanted to know what the nature of your disappointment was, and what the nature was of the discussion at the laws and license meeting. Actually, what was it that you were gonna discuss at the laws and license meeting? I was kind of surprised that it was gonna go to a committee. Committee for what exactly? Thank you.
Well, I'll answer part of it anyway. We didn't have a laws and license meeting since the last council meeting. Basically, we were taking care of these other two ordinances to get them out of the way. So the next council meeting, I'm happy to discuss. Robert, you didn't have to go there.
And the other part of my question, your disappointment as to his appointment of Mr. Oben?
Certainly, I've been reading the articles and hearing some concerns from citizens like Mr. Patterson about that appointment, and I would like to do some further research. And I appreciate having a committee with me to do that, and I'm ready to, speak up on it, depending on how our findings go. So certainly, it's important. It's the county manager position after all. So.
And just out of curiosity, Councilwoman Tedesco, did you express your disappointment to now County Chairman Scutari?
Do I express it?
Did you express it to him personally? Like in a letter, correspondence in person?
I have not spoken with Senator Scutari, period.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else at this time?
Good evening, Mayor, ladies and gentlemen. The Council, Bruce Patterson, 325 Willow Avenue. A couple questions. First one, to Councilor Kukrow. How many acres are
There's like 1,500, I don't know, but I'm gonna be over there dropping them all over the place.
1,500, okay.
At least.
It's been pretty steady at that number. Another one to Councilor Lazaro. And I'm not really admonishing you, but like you mentioned, you said the county pays for 60% of Hartman Park. It's not the county that's paying it. The county has no money. We have the money, all of us, the taxpayers. You know, all the county's doing is taking our money and giving it back to us. So.
I say to me, I know you say tomorrow.
So I mean, when I hear statements like that, I kind of like, the hairs on the back of my neck bristles. And long-time attendees of this meeting, obviously you, Mayor, Tina, even Bob, and Ann Leonard used to come here a lot, and she seemed to be the property maintenance representative. Well, I now appoint Al Belconte, because it seems like the hat is being passed to him as the property maintenance representative. So thank you, Al, for bringing it up and picking up the gauntlet of Ann Leonard. She's doing okay.
Point well taken.
Yeah, okay. Ed Oben. We'll jump over that one. There was, that's right, the last meeting I did bring up that I've been following this Scutari versus Marr County Democrat chair battle, and it's 7 for Scutari, obviously. So, but I mean, I did bring up that one question about why our attorney got a letter from Marr, and he was wondering about that himself. Well, anyway, as it further went on, I recognized from whatever correspondence and discussions, but anyway, our borough attorney actually represents the county Democrat Party, and I'm sure Mr. Anand will agree. And to me, that seems like there's a conflict of interest. If he's representing the county Democrat Party, and he's also representing our council, which is comprised of Democrats and Republicans, there seems to be a bias built in here as to. No, I'm bringing this up. This is a serious issue.
That's a good point.
Yeah, why would you gavel that, by the way?
Man has different positions in life. He represents his council over the last 30 years, and he's not biased, or he doesn't tend either way. He's truthful in every situation.
And I like the guy, and I discussed with him. I mean, so we had a little turbulence back with the previous Mayor McCarthy, right? I'm sure you remember that one, Bob. But we kind of discussed things. But I mean, it's just that there seems to be these conflicts of interest, and this one I'm just bringing up. But there's a lot of others, and I'm not even going to mention them. But it's just that the government And that goes back to this open scrutiny thing. But, you know, the government is being overrun by bad politics, conflict of interest, that, you know, anything that kind of smells wrong should be considered to be wrong and not done. And just as an example, I know you gavelled me for this issue, but just as an example, about, I guess it was back in January, there was a, I guess it was a deed restriction ordinance that came, and 3 Democrats voted yes, and the 3 Republicans either recused or abstained, and for some reason, even though the majority was not voted approval, that Attorney Renaud actually said it was approved. You know, maybe he can explain further as to what that was about, because I went away scratching my head saying, well, I don't know if it was politics or not, but you know, I just kind of scratched my head and went on my merry business. But now I'm standing here with this issue about a conflict of interest, and possibly there's a bias in that vote, because to me, the 3 yeses and the 3 abstentions or recusal, whatever they were, is not the majority, and it has to be a majority vote yes for approval, and it wasn't. 3 out of 6, not the majority. So I'm positive. If anything, I guess I would like to hear what the answer as to why that came about, and that it was approved. And again, my concern about bad politics. You've been listening to me for many years about it, and obviously it just doesn't stop. So, okay. Thank you very much, and you're listening to me on a couple of the issues.
Perfect time.
Yes.
Evening, Mayor and Council. Al Del Conte, 545 Locust Avenue. My memory was jarred. I remember what I forgot. Center Street, in front of 401 Center and Spruce. I brought up maybe a meeting or 2 ago about the condition of the road with the potholes. That road was just repaved 1.5 years ago. Is there any word on where we're going with that repair?
Isn't it being taken care of because of the water?
It will be eventually taken care of with the water issue, but I'll look into talking to our superintendent about some repairing on potholes.
Well, the DPW has put some blacktop in it, but it's a road failure, and that road was repaved 1.5 years ago. So I do remember complaining about road work in the past, and I believe we get a 5-year, we get nothing.
Maintenance policy. Maintenance policy.
But yes, we have a 5-year moratorium on going in on the new road. But once again, if there's an emergency or something that has to be connected, you're going to do it, hopefully they'll do a better job.
Well, it's just major, it's major failure. It's major failure, and the road was just redone. So I find that hard to believe that you get major road work and you only get 1 year on it. But if that's what it is, then so be it. On another concern, or another issue, I'm happy to see that as far as the work at the athletic field complex moving forward, that we have supervision in place for that. You know that I'm always complaining about things being supervised, and I like seeing that being done. Thank you very much.
Mayor, just to follow up, it was the January 9th agenda, and this is about the vote. It's a question of the vote that possibly you can have an attorney, borough attorney, explain a little further. But it's in the consent agenda. It was an 18038. It was about a deed restriction being removed. It was a resolution. And Councilwoman Eileen Kukrow abstained. Councilwoman Richmond Cormick and Councilman Joe Sarno abstained. And oddly enough, these are 3 Republicans, that's what I was bringing up. And then the 3 Democrats had voted yes. And Bob Renaud said it carried. And he commented, it's not like I wrote word for word, but he commented about the abstention votes. And something about an expression of dissent. So possibly, could this be explained a little more in depth? Is that possible?
Give it a try, let's see.
Well, there were 3 yeses, 3 abstains.
It was a resolution.
And there's a resolution.
Right. So that's basically the answer, is it's not a tie, because the abstentions are not negative. So a resolution can pass by a majority of those present and voting. Only 3 people were voting. To tell you the truth, I'd like to look back and see before I give what my thoughts on it were, but that's what my thoughts were. See, the problem is it's very unclear what abstentions mean. There was a recent case called, when I say recent, I'm talking about the last several years, called, it was a Booker versus somebody or other, and involved, and there's also a Hoboken case. The 2 of them involved elections where people were filling vacancies, and I guess the people who were opposed to the filling of the vacancies abstained. And then the question was, does that create a tie so that somebody can break the tie? It's a complicated situation, but it's my opinion that the resolution passed because it had 3 votes in favor. I mean, that's the answer, I guess.
I can clear it up a little bit. First of all, it was the property that was on Willow Avenue, number 1.
And it's South Avenue.
South Avenue, right. And basically, I abstained because it was considered a conflict of interest for me to vote on that. And I think you called it that way because it was different than what my other 2 councilmen decided. That's what Mr. Renaud said that night.
Well, there wasn't different flavors of aye, no, abstain.
Well, it was. I was
There's nothing
abstaining.
flavor.
I was abstaining from the whole thing. I couldn't vote on it. So I abstained.
I'm just saying, abstain is abstain. It's not like there's different levels.
I don't know, it's a different
Yeah, but
level.
the point is, you can pass a resolution with 3 votes. That's the answer.
Yeah, if there's maybe 4 or 5 people voting, right, which is the majority. By the way, do we do Robert's rules? How do we follow? What do we
Yeah,
follow?
our bylaws say that Robert rules control if there's nothing specific. I can't give you another answer, Bruce. That was the answer that occurred to me at the time. I think it was the correct answer. I don't know, am I ever wrong? I suppose I may be. I think that was the right answer. I gave the answer that I thought was correct.
All right, well, I do hold you in regards, extremely knowledgeable on legal matters and such.
I call it a blank vote.
What is it?
In terms of the way you're looking at and based on what you're saying, the abstentions can be almost categorized as a blank vote, meaning they're not there. So you just have 3 yeses and nothing else.
That only
Just for
three
your
people
visual
voted.
perspective, I'm not going to give you.
Well, yeah, everybody has their own, I say 3.
Yeah, I think it
6
doesn't,
people.
my opinion is it doesn't create a tie. So if
Right.
it doesn't create a tie, then it's enough votes in favor to pass. So
Okay.
that's the answer. I can't give you any other answer.
All right, but I mean,
Thank you.
the next question, what happens if it's wrong? You know, right now you said it did carry.
Right.
What happens if that was wrong? How you
You
interpret it?
mean, what happens if we make a mistake?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I thought the
I
government
guess
doesn't
it depends on what,
Maybe I
it
didn't-
depends on what, it depends
you,
on
Mr.
what the
Patterson.
circumstances are.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Seeing no one else for public comment, we'll move on to unfinished business. Councilwoman Cooper has asked to 076 and 080 be removed for now. So I would accept an amended motion to, on the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion, Mayor. Second?
Roll call, please, Sariano.
Please,
7-6.
Councilwoman Kukrow,
Yes.
Councilman Lazaro,
Aye.
Councilman McCormick, Councilman Sarno,
Aye.
Councilwoman Fedisco,
Aye.
and Council President Blumenthal.
Aye.
Would you like to read your, one that you don't have on the agenda
Oh, no,
first?
they have to go in order, so you gotta read these
Okay.
first.
Do I have a motion to pass resolution 076?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Any discussion?
I just have one thing. In all the materials that were being purchased for the park, I didn't see any materials for basketball, for the basketball courts.
So there's not anything that's going to change about one of the basketball courts. It's just the only thing is one of the other basketball courts is being used to facilitate putting in that new park equipment. So one of the basketball courts is not necessarily being touched by this construction. It is one of the basketball courts is being taken over.
So you're removing one set of basketball courts and you're leaving the old basketball courts and equipment and blacktop as is in a brand new park.
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
Any further discussion? Roll call, Ms. Ariano.
Councilwoman Kukrow,
No.
Councilman Lazaro,
Aye.
Councilman McCormick,
No.
and Councilman Sarno,
No.
Councilwoman Fedisco. Aye. Council President Blumenthal.
Aye.
Mayor Lombardo.
Aye.
Resolution passed.
Okay, do I have a motion to pass resolution 080?
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Do I have a second?
Second?
We have a discussion.
I just have one thing, Mayor.
Okay.
The complex. I believe that the complex was always categorized as self-sustaining from the proceeds that were brought in there. And I don't believe that council should be authorizing the funds to maintain it in any way, shape, or form. So I don't agree with this, and I will be voting no on this.
Thank you.
Ms. Ariema, could you clarify, because the resolution is being authorized by the council, does that automatically mean it's being taken out of, say, the buildings and grounds account and not the recreation complex trust account? Or we're just authorizing the work and then
Yeah.
it gets charged where it should get charged?
Yeah, the rec complex does bring in revenue, but it's not like the rec complex brings in revenue and it goes somewhere and everything gets paid out of there and then you never see the processing of those payments. That would be unacceptable. All government money has to go through the same process regardless of what the expense is for. And you're going to be learning this in the budget process. So if we were a little bit ahead, like 2 days from now, you're going to know that remember I talked about that we were just talking about appropriations and we're going to start talking about revenue. So in the budget document, we're going to anticipate revenue from this renting of this complex, which offsets the costs. But the way it works is, in the budget document, the state decides how you take in money and spend money. So in our meetings, we've only talked about spending money. This resolution is spending money, but the rec complex does bring in revenue. When we get to that part of the budget, you'll see it doesn't bring in all the revenue is necessary to operate it, but most of it.
I would also,
The taxpayers fund a very small amount, and I don't know the amount off the top of my head, but in the next 2 days, at our meetings, you will definitely be finding that out. What is the revenue, and what are we exactly tabbing into the taxpayers for to run this complex? Very little bit amount of monies, but just because it's a resolution of award of the governing body, that's the protocol.
Right.
You have to authorize that action, and you authorize all actions. But that's not saying that the taxpayers are paying for it.
Well, that's my only concern, because now I'm a little bit concerned about the goalposts. I thought that was getting kicked back to them to actually do it. And now we find out
There
that
is
it
no
isn't.
them, we are them.
All right, well-
We own the complex.
Right,
We
but I
operate
mean,
it.
we were bringing it forth at council the last time for council for the town to be paying. So the town would be taxed again on the money that was used for that. Now we see that they're in even worse shape than they were before, and it was not taken care of. And now this,
2
I mean,
days from now, you're gonna have a different perspective, because you're gonna get the other side of the budget, and you're gonna get a whole explanation of the revenue generated from the complex, and how it offsets the cost to maintain the complex.
Well, then I will see how much it's costing to maintain it and how much they are bringing in.
Correct. Again, they or we.
That is the Recreation Commission, but yes, it's the borough ultimately bringing it in.
I understand that, but I'm just trying to separate it in my brain, okay?
And I'm telling you, the next 2 days are going to give you a lot of clarity on the other end of budgeting in government. Because we haven't talked about any of that yet. So I get where you're coming from, but by Thursday night, you're going to be having complete.
So you're saying that I would completely change my perspective on how the.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
What I will say is this, the resolution that's before us, and I really truly hope this helps, is just whether or not we agree with awarding that amount of money to the company to take care of the turf, like we said, fixing the seams, doing the cleaning, etc. How that is handled is a budget decision. So in the past, when you look at it, the recreation complex has always existed. And so there's always been a certain amount of cost to maintain it. Lights had to go on, different equipment has to get fixed. So that was, round numbers, $10,000 a year. Now, obviously, the complex is new, it has more maintenance, and the Recreation Commission has been the vehicle that really has worked to bring in the rentals. Those rentals have totaled upwards of like $20,000 a year. So if you look at that, that means that there's like $30,000 to maintain it, because we always paid around 10 to maintain it, and we're getting rental money of 20,000. So
Those are just numbers she's just.
yeah, they're round numbers, but they are real numbers.
We should talk more about this
And-
let her
right.
get feel of it through budget. And the next council
Right.
meeting, maybe want to talk about it more when she understands.
Yeah, and I guess one last comment. The Finance Committee has brought recommendations to the council, and the council has discussed them as to how much of the rental money should be put back into the budget as a revenue to offset the impact to the taxpayers.
Right.
And that has been substantial to this date, to the point where the Recreation Commission is even concerned, saying, hey, I would like you to leave it there, not I, but, we would like you to leave it there for, 5 years, 10 years from now, long-term planning like that. So it's a budget decision, but it's ultimately a council decision too. So this is just, do we do the work or do we not do the work? I hope that helps.
Yeah, okay. Councilman?
And I think what Sarah's trying to say is, look, the money that gets brought into the revenue account goes into a separate account, okay? Do you keep it there for future projects? That's what the rec part's going, is slowly talking about. Or do you offset the operating budget, which is exactly what we do on a year-to-year basis. And that's always, that was a topic I brought up when I first got on here. How much goes into what, and how much this park really brings in and what it really costs to do. And again, this is another cost, another appropriation that we're going to vote on tonight. I think it's appropriate. I think we have to take care of the stuff we have. But we could go into further detail when the next meeting comes up.
Yeah, well, the point was, of course, we take care of the equipment that we have. That wasn't my issue. The issue was how many times we tax the people for the same amount of days. That's all. That's what I just wanted to clarify.
All right, Ms. Ariella, roll call, please.
Councilman Kukrow.
Yes.
Councilman Lazaro.
Aye.
Councilman McCormick.
Yes.
Councilman Sarno.
Aye.
Councilman Cisco.
Aye.
Council President Blumenthal.
Aye.
Ms. Ariella, then the resolutions removed from the consent agenda.
Resolution 18082. Be resolved by the Council of Borough of Garden County, New Jersey, to exit the following dates for special budget meeting. Tuesday, March 6th, 7 p.m. First special meeting of the mayor and council to discuss 2018 budget. Council chambers, municipal building, 402 South Avenue. Tuesday, March 20th, 7 p.m. Second special meeting of the mayor and council to discuss 2018 budget. In council chambers, 402 South Avenue. That's all, Mayor.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Discussion? Roll call, please, Ms. Ariella.
I'm sorry, I missed who made the motion.
I did.
Any second?
I did.
Thank you. None of my other discussion. Okay, Councilman Cooper.
Yes.
Councilman Lazaro.
Aye.
Councilman McCormick.
Yes.
Councilman Sarno.
No.
Councilman Fisco.
Aye.
And Council President Blumenthal.
Aye.
Okay. Any new business for the council?
I have one thing.
Okay.
I just want to thank El Del Conte for that unbelievable report on council meetings. I've never seen anything like it. I should have asked for his report to give for my report tonight. So thank you very much, Al. I really appreciate it.
Okay. I have two appointments this evening for committees. On the Celebration Committee, Crystal Yurlowski, and Recreation, Arlene Nagasko. Thank you. Okay. And also two, this evening I have proclamation, America Red Cross Month, March 2018, and also Youth Art Month, March 2018. Claimant the claimants, Ms. Ariane.
Be it resolved, the following claims are included in the same on Deborah's page, probably signed as verified. And the payment of payrolls as listed is hereby confirmed and ratified.
Do I have a motion to adopt payment of claims?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, Ms. Ariane.
Councilman Kukrow,
Yes?
Councilman Lazarus,
Aye.
Councilman McCormick,
Yes.
Councilman Sarno,
Aye.
Councilman Disco,
Aye.
and Council President Blumenthal.
Aye.
Before we adjourn, we're going to go to the executive session for a short presentation on tax appeals. Potential litigation.
Closed session review, authorizing executive session for the purpose of discussing tax appeal matters and contract negotiations only. I'm just negotiating. Okay. Purpose of discussing tax appeal matters and matters of returning client privilege relating to the above in accordance with NJSA Dental Code, such as the public disclosure of public service matter. Whereas it is necessary for the mayor and council of Borough to conduct an executive session post public order to discuss the above listed matters. Now therefore be resolved that the council of Borough given which form of executive session according to the provision of the Open Public Meetings Act, for the purpose of discussing subject stated above, and whereas be further resolved that the matters discussed in and in the closed session shall be disclosed to the public when the reasonable confidentiality is no longer exists. No action will be taken when we resume this meeting.
So I have a motion to accept the executive session motion.
I'll make that motion, Mayor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's actually cool.
What? Ms. Ariane, roll call.
Councilwoman Kukrow,
Yes?
Councilman Lazarus,
Aye.
Good answer.
Councilman McCormick,
Yes.
Councilman Sarno,
Aye.
Councilman Disco,
Aye.
and Council President Blumenthal.
Aye.